Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. I'm your host, and today I'm going to be exploring one of the most disturbing and controversial subreddits on the internet. But before I do that, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. It really helps me out a lot, and I appreciate your support. So the other night, I was just mindlessly scrolling for something to watch when I came across a video about unnerving subreddits that were yet to be deactivated. It was uploaded by a channel called Sick and Twisted, and it was very well made and entertaining. She covered some really creepy and weird subreddits, but the one that caught my attention the most was the last one she discussed. It was called r/sex offender support. According to the About section of the page, sex offender support is a place where people charged or convicted of sexual offenses and their families can come for support and answers to questions best answered by people who have first-hand knowledge of the challenges they face. When I heard that this subreddit existed, I was shocked and curious. I wanted to see what kind of posts were on there. The video by Sick and Twisted didn't go into enough detail for my liking about the posts themselves. She just showed some examples to emphasize the lack of accountability showcased by most of the offenders that posted on the sub. But before I get into that, I want to mention a few things. The woman behind the Sick and Twisted channel established her stance on whether or not a group like this should exist. She stated that she believed that it would be okay if its purpose was to make sure that these people did not reoffend and if it were actively moderated by mental health professionals. She also brought up the lack of accountability present on the page. While reading a lot of the stories on there, I can definitely agree that a lot of these offenders try to make themselves out to be the victim in their self-caused situations. The majority of the posts are full of excuses, minimizations, and victim blaming. Rule number 5 on that subreddit states, making excuses or minimizing your crime is not a part of our support. Victim blaming does not belong here and can lead to a definite ban if it continues after a mod asks you to stop. This rule is very obviously not enforced too much, and a lot of these offenders just complain about how hard it is being them and how hard it is to transition back into society because of the sex offender registry. And this is the part where I ask you, the viewer, what do you think? Should sex offenders have a space like this available to them, or should the subreddit be banned or heavily regulated? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And now, without further ado, let's get into the video, shall we? Just be warned, some of these stories are incredibly irritating. Try not to vomit as I read the stories of the depraved. Entry number 1. I'm just gonna give up now. Please listen to my story. Hey guys. I'm sorry, but this is another woe is me post. I really just want to talk about my situation with strangers who don't know me. I have a typical case for this sub. Receipt of CP, 60-month sentence, and I'm on a 240-month supervised release. I was convicted 8 years ago and released in 2018. I finished sex offender treatment and passed all lie detector tests except the last. I'll get into that. I've had no violations, and I have a good relationship with all of my parole officers. My last lie detector test failed because 1, the polygrapher kept adjusting my blood pressure monitor. He would tighten it beyond necessary, restricting my blood flow when he started questioning and loosening it after the questions. And number 2, I was under stress and anxiety from being unemployed for 2 years and trying to get this important job that I was in the final stretch for. I got the job last week. I had worked hard for this job. I've had multiple interviews, gathered references to speak on my behalf, proving myself capable, etc. It was a work from home job, and I'd be programming. I've worked with computers at my last job while on probation, and they had no problem with it. This time it's different. This time they want to install a software on my computer and not allow the company to install their monitoring software. The company obviously wouldn't allow that. It would violate their non-disclosure agreements, and I was let go after 1 day. It was a 6-figure salary, my one chance to break into the industry. I can't afford rent next month. My credit cards are maxed. I'm out of food. I was suicidal. So I contacted my parole officer's boss and they clarified that the monitoring software that the company uses would have to meet or exceed the capabilities of the software that the parole officer installs on my computer. I could have kept my fucking job. I later found out through another company that I applied for work with that my background check is mixed with my father's. They were the first to follow the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I don't have anything within the last 7 years, but my father's history shows up with several pending cases of forgery, tampering with documents, and grand theft. I guess companies have been running their background check on me without my permission and not allowing me to dispute their findings. I've just given up. I've only eaten once today. No more exercising, no more studying, no more video games, no interest in anything anymore. I think I need to be in the hospital. My mother noticed my changes and called my judge. I called my parole officer to ask what to do about my background check problem. He told me that the judge called him about me. The judge is willing to do a 3-way conversation with us, me and my PO and the judge. I haven't accepted the proposal yet. What can I say to the judge in this case? I highly doubt I'll get released from supervision. I doubt I can get anything modified. I'm sure the judge will just tell me to pick a different career for the rest of my life. My parole officer knows I've been trying for years to find work, freelancing to make money, and now understands my background check problem. What can I say to the judge to find relief? I had a job and I lost it in one day. The company still wants to work with me on different projects that aren't on their customer system, but that's later down the line. I've given up on finishing my master's degree, on breaking into the industry, and on life in general. I just drug myself to sleep all day now.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin. This is serious. I know.
Entry number 2. I thought I could stop, but I couldn't, and it cost me everything. So I've posted a lot in here, but haven't posted my story. I'm 24 now, but when I was 18, I came out as gay. Having not had any type of relationship in high school, I was desperate for a relationship now that I was out. I was on Grindr, Tinder, all that. I talked to a few guys, but nothing ever materialized. I was depressed and desperate for validation and to fit in. Around the time that I came out, I discovered and started to dabble in CP. I knew it was wrong, but couldn't help but be intrigued as I got older. I started to get more and more involved in groups that shared CP. This led to discovering a group that felt like a community. I had a sense of belonging, and this is when I started to get in too deep. I was so in deep that I'd be trying to get off to the perfect video until like 2 or 3 in the morning when I had to be up at 6 in the morning. At this point, I didn't care about a relationship. If it came, it came. If not, then I still have this community. Eventually, I started dabbling in the deep web and liked seeing things that I hadn't seen before. I was scared to death of getting caught, but again, I was chasing the perfect video, or a video I lost a long time ago. I had a really nice gaming computer, 2 monitors, all new bedroom furniture, all of which I bought with credit, figuring I could just pay it off over time as I progressed at my job. After all, I was an assistant manager at a store I helped bring back from the brink of closing, so I obviously had some job security. I thought the authorities wouldn't really care or be looking for someone who was just dealing in videos and pictures, but boy was I wrong. On the morning of January 7th, me and my dad were on the way back from a meeting I had at work that morning. I was tired because we helped another store do inventory at their store until 2 a.m. that night. We pulled up into my apartment complex, and in front of us, in the parking space, was a white Suburban that was obviously a cop car. My dad even said, "Ooh, someone's in trouble," and he was right. As we turned to go to our apartment, the Suburban started to pull out, and I immediately knew they were here for us. I panicked and started trying to delete stuff off my phone, but before I could do anything, I looked up and there was another one pulling in front of us. Selfishly, I was hoping and praying that they were there for my dad somehow. Nope, they were there for me. They had already raided my house and were just waiting on me. I felt so helpless, but I knew not to answer any questions and ask for a lawyer. That saved me from going to jail that day. I was eventually charged with aggravated possession of and distribution of child pornography. I was also charged with an Internet Crimes Act. I know I was very lucky to avoid jail time, but I still have so much guilt and depression and just overall a terrible feeling about it. All I want is to remove whatever part of my brain caused this, no matter how bad the side effects are. But I don't think that's possible, so I have to learn how to live with it and not give in to the temptation while moving on with my messed up life.
You disgust me!
Entry number 3. I'm going to be sentenced today. I don't want to be me anymore. On November 22nd, I'm going to be sentenced to 11 months in jail for distribution of explicit material to a minor. The original charge was for 2 years and habitual third to make it 4 years, and I took the deal for 11 months because I could not afford any lawyers. I made it worse in my scoring because I didn't do anything during the court processes because I've been so depressed. For the past year, I've given up on everything. I managed to keep a house for free while I was on bail, but I feel like I should have just sat in jail the past year to save everyone else from my disappointment. I don't want to exist anymore, so I sat inside the house trying to exist as little as possible this entire time. I started with therapy, but it didn't help me, so I quit going. I started avoiding my registration requirements because I have to report to the state police post 30 miles away in person, and I can't stand to show myself in public. I feel so much shame and guilt about my life that I just want to disappear. I have had this mentality the whole time, and it has only gotten worse. It was even listed in my pre-sentencing investigation that I didn't register during this time and that I didn't cooperate well. I only know the feeling of shame and guilt lately, and the feeling grows stronger the closer I approach to my sentencing. Last time I was in jail, I was bullied regularly, and my debt was too much for me to get commissary that I feel like I would request solitary for the 11 months to live off of jail food alone. All this fuels my depression even further. I've lost nearly everything I have over the recent years as well as during COVID for other issues entirely. All I have left is this house my grandma left behind, my Native American culture, and a few supporting friends and family members. It hurts them even more seeing how far I've fallen, and hurts me seeing them hurting because of me and seeing their despair in their inability to help me more than telling me that they care about me. Well, with my rant done, I want to thank this place for being somewhere with others who understand this side of the world. With everything else crumbling around me, I have seen that some out there have climbed out of this casted aside community, and that makes me cry, truly. At least someone else doesn't have to be me. At least someone else doesn't have to experience this feeling and reality that is mine. Thank you in advance to those of you who take the time to read this. Perhaps this will hit someone deep and provide something useful to learn as well as avoid this path. Maybe someone else out there will feel content that justice is served. The important part is that this experience I have been in, the thoughts and resentments I have felt as a reaction to the world I have gone through, and the results of this life that has been cast aside by its own user, is known to others.
You're a fucking idiot.
Entry number 4. I'm being sentenced on federal CP possession charges tomorrow. See you in 60 months. Alright gang, this is it. Going to prison tomorrow. Major milestone. I couldn't have done it without y'all. Seriously, thanks for doing what you do in here in this sub. I wanted to see child porn. It was surprisingly easy to accomplish this goal. Once I started finding it, the collection became as addicting as reveling in the despicable content itself. It's a really, really bad thing to get into. And looking back, I should have bought a mountain bike or took flying lessons to alleviate my need for a high-risk behavior outlet. But here I am. Once I went through the hassle of getting it, no way was I going to delete it. So there it was, 3 months later, on my laptop as FBI poured into my house, guns drawn, with a search warrant. Possessing child sex abuse material is bad, you see. But downloading it via OpenIP ClearNet torrents and leaving your torrent client open while you go to work, letting it seed all day long is bad and also very stupid. 29 months of radio silence after the raid, lots of therapy, research, and freaking out later, I was indicted. Sentencing guidelines put me at 151 months. I was a first-time offender. A year after the indictment, my public defender called me to tell me a plea deal had been reached. 60 months in prison, 5 years probation, $20,000 in restitution, and probably a lifetime of quarterly sex offender registration. There's a small chance I will get self-surrender. So strange to think about the next 5 years in prison. Yikes. If the world is still spinning after my sentence, I'll post again when I'm released and fill you in on how it was. It sucks to go to prison. 5 years is a long time, but the victims have to deal with the pain their whole lives. I think if I had to choose between 60 months in prison or having my childhood rape videos posted online forever, I'd choose to do hard time. Take care of each other while I'm gone.
Lock his ass up! Lock his ass up! You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
And that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least found it interesting. I know it was a very dark and disturbing topic, but I think it's really important to be aware of what's going on in the world and to have a conversation about it. What do you think about the subreddit r/sex offender support? Do you believe that something like this should exist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading your feedback and engaging with you. Thank you so much for 28 subscribers. We're almost at 30. I would like to get to 50 by the end of the year. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out a lot and I appreciate your support. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I post new videos every other week covering all kinds of topics, from creepy to funny, from weird to wonderful. You don't want to miss them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe and stay awesome. Bye-bye.
What's going on with you?
Oh, the usual. Would you get out of here?